Welcome.
Greetings.
Welcome. Look at this, eh? Listen, so today on Here to Help You, we have artwork in our background. No, thank you, everybody. I wanted something. I love it. I just wanted to everyone knows it's Here to Help You. My logo's right there in the front.
In the front,
see it.
yes.
Everyone, welcome to Here to Help You on my TCN TV network. Today we have a informative day.
Yes.
And it's going to be some information that I think our community needs to hear.
It'd be nice for them to listen to it, stick in. I mean, it should be a wonderful and insightful, and it's actually, as you mentioned, informative
show, right? And before we go any further, I got to introduce my co-host, the Don.
What?
Dave.
Listen, man, don't be careful with the hand movements. Make people over there think you're whipping it up and you turn into a chef or something. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
Yeah, man.
You cook. Anyhow, the Don Dave Rankin.
Peace and love, family. Alongside the Donette, Simone, Jennifer, Simit.
I'm sitting here chewing my gum. I'm gonna be so upset with me. Everyone, welcome. So, just so you guys know, Dave and I will be leaving in 2 days.
Not leaving the network. No, we're just leaving the country for a little bit. We're leaving
the country for the network.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we'll be going to the jolly old England.
Could you say that again?
Not saying it again. I probably messed it up the first time I said it, so I'm not going to say that again. But definitely, we're heading out of here. We have to get out of here. We are going to something that's going to be, I think, extremely educational for us. Yes. And I'm very happy that the network selected us to do this. We are going to England to be part of a peace symposium.
Yeah.
And the National Peace Symposium. I think this is the 15th year that they've done this.
Wow.
And the headquarters in England is hosting it this year. And of course, they're having the Caliph of Islam. Basically, what they are showing us is that despite what people may say on the news, the internet, whatever is propagated.
Yes.
Is that the word?
That's perfect.
What about their religion? It's false. And that he really wants to have people look at it objectively, right? Which is what they're giving us an opportunity to do. Like they've said to us, community, you guys come in and you see for yourself.
Right.
And they've asked Dave and I to be the people to come in, and they've welcomed us beautifully.
Yeah, it's very interesting, the conversation that we did have, because we had a few conversations with them leading up, of course, to our departure, which will be this coming Thursday. Yeah. First and foremost, the Ahmadiyya group. We're going to shout out, of course, to Hassan, and the rest of the team, Safwan. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, brother.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yeah. His name's wicked.
One take. Right? But in case anybody didn't know, I mean, this is pretty much a smaller sect who practices Islam.
Yeah.
Right? And they were going through, of course, their persecutions, which was, I found, wow.
It's terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, some of the things they've gone through.
Yeah, we don't understand sometimes, I guess, of course, our Western society now, of course, we've been infused, of course, with Islam, as all the religions, right? But from a Western standpoint, we don't receive the news in regards to what types of persecutions happen around the world, right?
Yeah.
And this sect now, of course, they've been facing it's atrocious in regards to what's happening. Of course, there's some of the people who
being killed for their faith, because of what they practice, and that's just a human right. You can't be taken away a basic human right. You can practice what you want to practice.
Correct.
End of the day,
Correct.
Regardless if people believe it or want to believe it or not.
Correct. But but when now you have a government who writes into the Constitution, right?
Yeah.
Right. The persecution is lawful.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah, it's
kind of hard.
Battle,
you're going against a really hard battle. So we're learning a lot, and I think that's the best thing about this experience, that we're going to learn a lot. A couple books that Dave and I are going to have to go over are, first one, Dave.
World Crisis and the Pathway to Peace by Mirza Masroor Ahmad.
Okay, so that's the first one.
The Caliph. Yes.
The Caliph.
Yes.
So let me read a little bit about him, just so we can so you have an understanding of who the Caliph is. So the community is led by a system of Caliphate, which is a spiritual leadership. His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor. You said it better than I did, Ahmed. Can you say his name again, please?
Sir, Mirza Masroor Ahmad.
You say it better than I do. Is the community's fifth caliph and is based in London. He leads his global community and inspires it to serve humanity with the spirit of kindness and humility that is integral to Islam. In accordance with the teachings of Islam, he upholds the honor of all prophets of God and highlights the role of religion in the promotion of peace. So that's what they stand for.
Yes.
Driving in, what was the statement that they had up?
What was it again? Love for all.
Oh, I have to say this one. It's really, really good. Harm none. I have to get that saying. They have a specific one, and I'm going to make sure you guys know about it before the end. Can't believe I don't remember that. Anyhow, beautiful. But it's basically saying, though, like, harm no one. You come in peace.
Right.
We come in peace. You know, let's just be peaceful together. So that's what this is about. And we're going to go down and learn so much more. We're definitely going to remember what the motto is, because that's very important. We need to know that. It was so beautifully written. I can't believe I forgot it. But anyhow, they gave us another book as well, The Life of Muhammad. So this is something else that, you know what, for me, just for basic knowledge, you know what, it's better to learn than to just be ignorant and not know what you're, you know. If you're going to have an opinion on something, have at least an informed opinion.
Yes.
Right? And can you say this, Dave?
Invitation to Ahmadiyyat.
You're better at this, man. So much better.
Well, I've read a little bit more.
So these are a couple books that you can find. You know, I think you can find these. I think you can go to their mosque and get these books.
Yes.
But it's just, again, a good introduction. So we're excited to be doing that. And as we go into our second part of the show, we're going to introduce something that's happening here in Canada. Let's come back home with it. Something that's happening here. I have a very short clip for you. And then in the next segment, I can't even talk today, we're going to meet our special guest, Miss Kike Ojo.
No one wants to live outside the box. We play it safe. But if you had told me all those years ago that I'd go on to win Juno Awards and Much Music Awards, I would have laughed. All right, stay with me. Here we go. Hands up! Reach for the sky. Come on! And hold your head up high. What's the night? And every night. You're what? Yes! To be distinct, you must be different. So I'm going to tell you this. Love Inc.'s You're a Superstar went on to explode onto the Canadian dance scene. Not only was it a hit in Canada, it was a hit internationally. Top 5 in the UK, across Europe and into Australia. Our music was everywhere. Radio, TV, video, fashion, television. I was on tour across Canada, branching into the US and Europe. Our music was everywhere. Our video was everywhere.
Welcome back, everyone. I wanted to make sure she was front and center, and she is. She is. This is what I told her I was going to bother her. She didn't believe me. This is wonderful. So, this beautiful lady, I like adjectives, so I'm going to throw some at you. Okay. I learned a few more. Omnipotent. You hear those words there?
We'll get back to the spelling later.
Yeah, we'll do it in a second. Okay.
Come on, that's
She has an omnipresence.
Okay, that's 2.
Okay. Strong, nurturing, imaginative, a leader.
Oh, Thank you.
You got the Lincoln Alexander Award. I sneak peeked. I was creeping. Hold on, there's more. Award winning. All right. We'll stop there. Miss Kike Ojo, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so
To
much.
here to
You're very
help you,
welcome. Thank you.
on my TCN TV. We brought you on late because of this. We run on African people's schedule. That's just what we do sometimes.
No,
I
we
apologize about
just
that.
move with the spirit.
That's
exactly
such
what
a
it is.
euphemism. I love it.
We just move with the spirit. Western society always plays, of course, the constraints of time.
Oh Lord, Dave, stop.
Stop right now. Just no
Kika's
more.
just like, really?
We can go with this.
So, Miss Kike, welcome very much. Thank you for coming in. I would like for you to share with us who you are. We'll start there because I want you to introduce yourself, and then we're going to start talking about some of the great work that you are doing with our community.
Okay. Well, I see myself as a change agent, a strategist, an activist, a facilitator, and an educator.
Those are better adjectives.
Yeah. Yeah. The work that I do is really a lifelong interest and passion, and I just feel really honored to get to do it every day.
Okay, so where did this all start? Dave, please feel free.
Don't worry, I have a profile here, so
Okay.
I'll be.
You're picking at?
Yes.
Okay. So, because I will completely monopolize their conversation because just like, oh my God. So there's a story behind us, but we'll get there in a second. This is a lot more important. So where did this passion come from? Tell me some of your experiences that's gotten you to this point, because you've done a lot. But I know with any greatness comes, some pain with that. So how did you get here? What got you into this work?
So for me, the work is really about social justice. It's about achieving equitable outcomes for different communities, or if it's in a workplace, for the staff and for the service users. I don't know, I tell the story that I was exposed to conversations around social justice to do with Black people in particular, although many types of people, from being a little girl and being, with my dad and my stepmother, who were sort of parts of Toronto communities or the greater Toronto area communities that were concerned about these issues, the anti-apartheid movement in Toronto.
Yes.
The original Black Secretariat, sort of those sorts of things, and just the kinds of people that I got to sit and listen to. And I like to say that my mom and my stepdad were political people as well in their own ways, around, I would say, Pan-Africanism, or just, seeing the community as one, and understanding that Black is more than a hue or a tone or a color, but it's also a political experience. But in terms of to answer your question very specifically then, around what got me involved, again, I tell a story that when I was younger and saw injustices and decided to do something about them, I experienced reward for doing it. So it's not that I didn't experience any kind of fear or trepidation in the moment, but I have sort of a set of experiences that have where the outcome was a reward in some way from I was really young, and so
good reinforcer.
Yeah, so I started to equate doing this sort of, and not consciously but subconsciously, I think, doing this sort of work with good outcomes for me personally and for the community.
I love it. And you know what? It's interesting. It is that reinforcer that did that for you. And that's cool that you even recognize it. Some people don't, really understand how they do. And this is why sometimes there's no passion behind the work. But yours comes with that. It's a gratification that comes with like, wow, this is something that's done for someone, and I've done it, and I've helped them, and I've helped them progress. And
yeah.
Yay.
Maybe I should be specific or give an example of what I mean. So, when I was I grew up in Malvern at first until about the age of 12, and then came to Peel and moved to Streetsville, Mississauga. And in those days, it was a long time ago. I don't want to age myself totally on here in public, but
don't worry.
In those days, Streetsville, Mississauga was still a very white part of Mississauga, and there was a lot going on in our junior high school around race, and people saying really blatant things and doing really blatant things, and just noticed that on TV Ontario they had a video, they were showing a show called Skin, asked my stepdad to videotape it for me and brought it into the class and sort of said to the teacher, like, there's been all of this stuff going on. Can we show this video and can we talk about it after? And so those, and then writing in the school newspaper about the issues. I do believe that those two things in particular helped me get the valedictorian award for the school, because it was a student showing some sort of leadership for the school community and the school culture. And I just think that there's all these opportunities that children can do, young adults can do. Just try it and see what happens.
So leader was a good adjective for you.
I mean, it was fair. I'm not trying. I really am going to be uncomfortable if this show is about like tooting horns. Or,
No.
It's
you have to. You know what? And I appreciate you saying that. It's always to me the people who do the most who are the most humble. So you even saying that to me, I get it, and I understand, and I respect your space there. But you have to understand, you've got to take the credit for what you have done and what you have accomplished. And you've been a leader since high school. And I want to bring up an interesting fact. I too moved to Mississauga when I was 16 years old, and we went to your rival school, Meadowvale. And I think we're about the same age.
Were you in track? Because then we were definitely rivals. No, I'm just kidding. Well, doesn't matter. Okay, never mind.
So another interesting coincidence. But no, I think it's wonderful, and I think this is probably why you were chosen to work on this project that you have come here to talk about, because of this leadership. Like, it started somewhere. So it's good that you were able to give that background where that was just there for you. So tell us about your role at Children's Aid Society.
Well, I mean, my entry into child welfare. So I'm not a social worker. First of all, I'd like to make that clear to people.
Okay.
I don't have a social work degree. I'm a sociologist. And so I see the world from that perspective. And I think there's a lot of ways that social work and sociology are married, but they are not the same. However, after being a high school teacher in Peel and moving to Atlanta to lead an environmental justice program for the city, I saw or noted that there was an opportunity at Peel Children's Aid to lead their anti-oppression work. And so I decided to come home to do that.
Okay.
And I spent 8.5 years there. And I mean, I want to say that it was a transformative time, I think, for that agency. I want to shout out the staff of Peel Children's Aid, who I'm going to get emotional. It's so funny. Who, in all the ways that I was, pushing the agenda around anti-oppressive practice, anti-Black racism, and social justice in general, that staff community really circled around me, and I would say protected me really from some of the resistance that was coming from the senior team and from senior places.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and so anyway, so I spent 8.5 great years there, learning hard lessons, falling, getting back up, and causing cultural shift in that organization. And I think providing support to other agencies across Ontario who are child welfare agencies as well. And so that's why when the community got to the decision-making table of the province to express themselves around the experience of Black families, that I did get tapped on the shoulder to come and join that conversation as a child welfare representative. You see what I mean? And which was an extreme honor, a huge honor, and I don't take it lightly. And I know that my presence in this work and my presence of leadership at the Ontario Association of Children's Aid Societies is to represent the community first and foremost, and to ensure that that what the decisions that are being made in general in child welfare, and in particular in regards to the Black community, are effective, fair, appropriate, and are what the community would want. And so, I have to stay in tune with the community. And so I do spend my downtime trying to go to meetings and like where we met and things like that, to ensure that I'm staying in touch with what the community is saying. It's really important. So
that's awesome. Okay, so we have some more time that I get to hear more of what you have to say. We'll be back in a few minutes. I'm here to help you.
doing this event for the community. But what if CEO actually stood for catching every opportunity? This week alone, I've seen 3 businesses that shut their doors in this community.
Investing in yourself, like you have to know what your brand is first. So there's no other way that you're going to build a brand unless you network. You have to eventually get out there.
And it stems down to a lot of times not having the right knowledge, the right know-how.
Call you out. Welcome back. She didn't know. She's in here out proper. I'm calling her out. She's trying to run everybody. I'm keeping her for the whole time trying to run. Where you going? I get Miss Kike Ojo in here. Listen, I want you to talk to us. Like, again, you know what? It's good to see for our younger women. I think they need to hear this.
Oh, okay. I thought you were calling me a younger woman. All right.
I am. Stay there.
Okay.
We are the new 20. See? But no, it's good for our younger ones to look at us, because we're still I think we're still able to connect somewhat to that age group. There's not everyone can do that, but I think you do have that ability to still connect even to your younger self, which is like some of the things you see, and they need to see that. So hearing your story even to this point, what you've done is awesome. So the One Voice,
One Vision,
One Voice project. Let's talk about that. Let's go into some details about that, how that started, the genesis of that, and then we'll start talking about, because there's a few points. I know you guys have your 11 race equity practices. I want to go through those with you.
Okay.
I think that would be good to get like an understanding, because I'm thinking a lot of this was built by you, yes?
The community. I mean, okay. I'm a steward.
Okay, you were so humble. All right, talk to us.
Yeah, so
One Vision, One Voice.
Yeah, I mean, such a pleasure. The community has been talking about issues to do with child welfare,
Right.
And how Black people are experiencing child welfare for decades. In fact, we found an article in the Contrast newspaper, so one of the Black community's newspaper,
Yes.
one of the originals,
Yes.
from 1976, talking about the fact that there were too many Black youth in the system, and that we need foster carers, and so that kind of thing. So I mean, this is not a new issue, but some of the leaders in our community stayed on course and were really diligent about getting the attention of the leadership of child welfare to say, we have to do something. What are you doing? What are you doing? And so finally, it was probably late in maybe either late 2013 or 2014 that the first conversations began around, okay, what could we do? This was really an elephant. You know when they say, how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah.
One bite at a time? Yeah. This was an elephant because there are so many issues and so many pieces of it. Yeah. But, pardon me, in talking that through, we decided to start with a practice framework that would support child welfare staff and agencies to do their work differently with the Black community, to unveil the anti-Black racism that is at the core of these sort of differential experiences that the Black community is having. So to be clear, not only are we talking about the experience of Black people in the system, but we're talking about the fact that we are overrepresented in child welfare. So we know the stats from Toronto CAS and from the Toronto area. And that is to say that while there are only 8% Black people in Toronto,
Right.
that there were 41% children in care. So the 8% is not just of people in Toronto, but of youth in Toronto are 8%, but 41% of the youth in care of the Toronto CAS. So that's an overrepresentation by 5 times.
Yeah.
And just to put it in context, the white community is underrepresented in the system. So it's actually worse than it looks, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and so so the community was lobbying. I think we had leadership in child welfare that was sensitive to at least listening to what they had to say. We had the Toronto CAS data exposed, and by them, it wasn't some kind of coup. They were readily sharing the information with the community. And so you have all of this kind of happening at once that I think caused the meeting to happen. And like I said, we decided, okay, out of all the things that we could do, and there's many, let's start by supporting the sector very specifically around a practice framework. And so that's what we set out to do. And the commitment that we made to the community, and when I say we, so really the community was in the lead on this. I was brought in as support. The Ontario Association of Children's Aid Societies was prepared to sort of put itself forward as sort of the facilitator, like the steward of the funds, ensuring that the community got what it wanted, that kind of thing. And then you had the ministry at the table as well, the Ministry of Child and Youth Services, also at the table, and open and willing and interested to do something. And so the commitment we made is that the community would stay in the lead of this work and stay in charge of this work. And so essentially my job became a lot about, how to maintain that commitment and stay true to the community and make it happen within child welfare, right? And so the debate was, should the project touch the child welfare system at all? Should it happen all outside and not only be led but be completed on the outside, or is there some legitimacy to doing it inside? And I mean, I think that there's a lot of good opinions on both sides of that debate. What I would say has been effective and will continue to be effective is that because of the amount of not just buy-in but the role that the Ontario Association had in this project, and therefore the rest of the province in terms of all the CASs, and there are 47, that there's a buy-in for this that I think is different than if the project had been solely and completely out into the community. If it had been solely in the community, right now we would have a product that we were fighting to get into the system. Right now, from the system's perspective, it was a part of creating this. So there's not that fight. I think the fight, if I was to name a fight, or the struggle or the challenge, is that what we're asking for, is that the documents that make up the practice framework definitely spoke truth to power. And I think some things were narrated or referenced there that were simply true. Things around anti-black racism, things about white supremacy, and those sorts of things, and sort of how they play out in the way that the system operates. And so I think there are people within the system that might feel a little nervous about sort of admitting or aligning with this, but but like I said, we were committed to a community-based process. And I mean, I can tell you a bit about what that meant, if you want.
For a sip, you want to sip some water? Please, let her take a sip. She has given us a lot of information. You deserve a sip, girl. Sip away.
I will sip.
So while you're sipping, Mr. Dave, because you are the intellect of us, of the two of us.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, he is. He is. What can you weigh in with this conversation? I know you're a little bit more into the news than I am.
Well, you see, when it comes to white supremacy, right, and the practices of white supremacy, Neely Fuller has always told us there are two methods, right? You have deceit and you have violence, right? Of course, where deceit doesn't work, violence will. And in this case now, of course, where violence is simply taken out of the picture, now we have the deceit, right? I'm very interested in knowing, guys, like some of the practices that they went ahead and fully admitted to, right? Because I mean, that of course will align, along with the lines of deceit.
Okay.
Right?
Interesting.
And of course, I know you're going to touch on the race equity practices. So I believe those will go ahead and align itself with,
so.
Of course,
you
the
have to
evolution.
Come and take over the show.
I don't know what else to say there. I'm going to keep quiet over here.
I mean, so in terms of deceit, in order to produce the documents, we did 16 community consultations across the province.
Yeah, okay. I saw that.
We were everywhere from Windsor to Ottawa and up to Thunder Bay. And I mean, I guess to be very micro, to take up this notion of deceit in a very micro way, would be to say, when I heard the stories of the community members, so the Black people across the province, what was fascinating, first of all, was that the stories were so similar. It didn't matter if they were in the north, in the east, or in the west,
Okay.
or in the center. The stories were very similar.
Okay.
And I think that's a testament to how anti-Black racism works,
Right.
Yes.
and what it is, and the use of state power, the heavy-handedness of authority, the hyper-surveillance, the targeting, and those sorts of things. On micro levels, I think deceit is around, how how some of our cultural norms get defined or taken up as problematic. I mean, that's just it's just not true, right?
Right.
And I don't know if this is about deceit or it's just tragic and sad, is, some of the ways that our children might, be talking to each other and say, my mom's going to kill me. I got a D in this class. I'm dead,
Right.
and we exaggerate. I mean, it's just kids talking.
Right.
And how that, to have heard how many times families would talk about how those, the words of their youth or their children were taken seriously by the system.
Right.
Where a call from a call would go to Children's Aid, or a call would go to the police.
Right.
And those was so we heard a lot of stories like that. A lot of stories where whether a teacher or a healthcare professional or a police officer had a question, that the benefit of the doubt that ought to have been given to parents, the call was not given. And really noticing the distinction or the disparity between white families and what they have to say about very similar contexts,
Right.
and Black families.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to be right back with Miss Kike Ojo.
Thank you.
Think you have what it takes to bring value to the community? The TCN TV network is expanding and now accepting TV show proposals. Here's an opportunity to build celebrity status and become part of an elite group of community advocates that are focused on building, strengthening, and empowering our community in a positive way. Are you interested in embarking on a new adventure? TCN TV is searching for people interested in opportunities to change the conversation and pave an unforgettable legacy. If you feel you have something of value to offer, send a written show proposal to shows@mytcntv.com.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
So we have the humble, I'm going to say that. That's the adjective I'm going to keep with you. The humble, yet powerful. She's going to be like, I'm never coming on this show with these people again. I told her, just leave me alone. And Simone wouldn't just leave me alone. It's the Medivale in me. Anyhow, this is Kike. All right, so what I'm really liking from this is the fact that you are showing community activism at its finest. Let's go into that a little bit. Talk to me about what we have to look forward to going forward with this project, and the people who are with you, who are standing with you, and have stood with you throughout this.
Yeah. Well, let me go back and say, in terms of who has stood with me, I mentioned that it was a community-led project.
Yes.
And how we formalized that was to create a governance structure that would reflect that. So we had a steering committee of the community.
Okay.
So it was 18 community members from across the province. We had our Afro-Francophone. We had our 500 Years Canadian member. We had our youth members. I guess there's a couple people that would want to define themselves as youth. That table. We had academia, we had the Caribbean, the East African, the hijabi wearing, so we really were intentional about ensuring that it was a diverse table.
Good. Because
again, we're representing the community. It was a sort of a hefty responsibility, right? And so all the decisions that we made had to be affirmed by that space, that table, and I think they really defined the piece. And all of the work, they read every word, and reviewed and edited, and made sure that it reflected the best outcomes for the community.
It's beautiful.
So those people stood with me, beside me, around me, as myself and the consultant on the project, Tana Turner. The two of us together did the traveling around the province and then wrote the documents and worked with that community group to ensure it was reflective. At this point, we are in a new phase. So we ended that phase. So we did the 16 community consultations. We produced the documents. We did a symposium. We had 250 people that included people in child welfare, but also people in other service sectors, as well as the community, present to have the unveiling of the documents and to bless it, essentially. We had an elder from the U.S. Who's an elder in the Rites of Passage movement.
Okay.
And we had our own elders here in Ontario with us, and it was a beautiful, beautiful event. And so now it's time to move forward, right?
Yes.
So we have this document. It has instructions in it, and it tells the story and it tells the truth. And so now it was, how was the system, how was child welfare in Ontario going to use this information? And so the first thing I did was hire my team. So there are 4 people in the team now, 4 extra people other than myself: an implementation specialist, a data specialist, a communication specialist, and an events coordinator, admin person. And together with me, we are now moving the work forward. And I think the big task is, like I said, there are 47 agencies in this province. 9 of them are Indigenous. So so we've work to do with between 37 and 47 agencies. I think the first thing that we wanted, not even I think, we are doing it, we're in the process of doing it, but the first thing we need to do is let them know how they're doing in relation to anti-Black racism and in relation to the practice framework. And so we're doing assessments, anti-Black racism assessments of all the agencies across the province. So they will sort of assess themselves with our help, with our tool, and then they'll all get a report card back for their agency saying, you need to work on this, 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 and this. And with the 11 race equity practices, that's their sort of backdrop, or that's the standard, right? That's the framework that we're assessing against, right? Along with some other bits around anti-Black racism, but it's based in the 11 practices, so that's great. And so we'll evaluate them, we'll give them the report cards, and then we'll help them build implementation plans. So they're going to be on their way with that. In addition, it's really important that we continue with the accountability piece. So when we had the steering committee, that was a major point of accountability.
Yes.
It was the first time that child welfare across Ontario had a community-led project. So we do lots of projects, but usually they're led by us, by child welfare. But this was led by the community, and it was an interesting rub. And so we want to continue to get better at that.
Of course.
And continue to grow in our ability to do that well. And so we are creating a provincial advisory council, sort of different from it. So the steering committee was really about producing that document.
The document.
But the council will be, if my dream is to come true, the council will be a forever table. The people will come and go, but the structure will stay as an accountability feature for child welfare in Ontario forevermore. And so when the system is thinking, well, would this be good for Black people? What should we do for Black people? You have the council to defer to. The council needs to be the body that affirms all of our plans with regards to child welfare, with regards to the Black community. And then locally, we are. At this point, we're going to set up 11 local advisory councils, but we look to have all the agencies across the province to have their own local advisory council, and they will feed into the provincial advisory council. So we're building a network of accountability to the Black community of the system of child welfare. So I'm really excited about that because. And I think at the end of the day, One Vision, One Voice, and through these councils, what we're creating is a platform for the conversation. We have existed for decades without a space to even raise race as an issue or racism. I think that there was sort of a collective response that said racism. But this is Ontario. This is Canada, multicultural Canada. And so the conversation kind of gets swallowed up in that narrative of multiculturalism. It's a really neoliberal way of looking at our society. That said, so we're going to have the councils. And finally, we're focused on data, cleaning up our disaggregated data collection, ensuring that we know who's who in terms of our data. So no more aggregate reports that say, this is happening in all of Ontario.
No.
It could be happening in all of Ontario, but within the Black community, what's happening? So for example, we've seen where apprehension rates for the province overall were going down, but the rates within the Black community were skyrocketing at the exact same time. Also true for the Indigenous community. And the reason that the two can be true at the same time has to do with proportionality. Yes. So we're only 4% across Ontario, Black people. People are usually surprised by that because Ontario is seen as the blackest province, I think.
Right.
And Toronto is seen as such a black city, but we're only 8%. In fact, you can find 9% in Durham and Peel. So more, sort of a higher proportion than the city of Toronto. Right. And I think that it surprises a lot of people. But I say all that to say that really creating this ongoing collection of data that is proper and thorough, so that we know who do we serve and are we doing, or is there overrepresentation, and that is the only way we're going to know if we're hitting the mark on being anti-oppressive and using the anti-Black racism framework.
Love it. Wow.
Yeah, so that's what's coming.
But it's it's beautiful. I'm sitting here just kind of in awe because it's so long time coming.
It really is.
It's taken so long. When I first read it, my first reaction, I'm not even gonna lie to you, was yeah, right.
I know.
I'm sorry. It's such a negative, but it's just because it has been the narrative.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends went through that system. So for me, I'm yeah, she can try a thing. My ignorance. But you're doing it. I've been trying. You've gone past that. You already did it.
I mean,
so that's
time will
awesome.
tell, right? I mean, I think we need to, I guess the thing that I didn't mention is that we're going to create evaluation frameworks. We need to evaluate our progress.
Absolutely.
And whether we hit the mark with these 11. Now, but it's a sweet spot, right? Because it's you have the 11 race equity practices. Our ability to control the extent to which agencies apply them is the problem. And the thing that people need to understand in the community is that child welfare in Ontario is rare, or we're unique. Excuse me. We're the only child welfare entity in Canada that is not controlled by the government. So they are 47 independent, little mini corporations.
Right.
Whereas if you go to another province, the government runs child welfare. Right. What that means on a bad side, I mean, there's, I think, good to it, but the bad side is that no one can really tell them what to do.
Yeah.
They have to decide to do it. So if they feel like they're in crisis enough, or if they're morally, drawn enough, or if the argument can be made enough, if the case can be made well enough, then they might do it, but they don't have to. So this is also part of the dance of my work, is to keep the agencies engaged, keep giving them the case. I don't like to call it the business case, but the many cases for why this is a good idea.
Right.
So that they stay invested. And then let the work happen, give some time for the implementation process to happen, and then evaluate. So we're a good number of years away from being able to say surely and definitively the impact or the effect of the work. Does that make sense? Because,
absolutely.
But what I would say is that, the fact that we're here, the fact that the work was done, the fact that we have a team, the fact that there's now a space and a way and a place to talk about Black issues is a win. The other thing that I think is really big and important that's going to come in this new phase of the work is two things that I'm really excited about. An all-Black youth in care meeting or meetup or gathering event where they get to overnight. And this is going to be the first time ever that Black youth in care across the province get to come together for the purposes of coming together as child welfare youth.
Okay.
So I want to shout out the Provincial Advocate Office's work on Hair Story, which focuses on Black youth across the province as well. But this is done by child welfare. This is different. And so it'll be the first time in child welfare history that we do that.
Okay.
And we intend to make it an annual experience.
Excellent.
And the other thing, again, really exciting, and I think it speaks to, you know, the idea that, well, you know, is this really happening? Is this going to be effective and things like that, is that we're going to have an all-Black staff meetup gathering.
Wonderful.
From across the province. And
Right.
so, you know, we want to empower our staff to be, you know, critical change agents, to not just come to work every day and try to survive it. And we know that that's a legitimate perspective. It's a legitimate posture.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's a violent experience to be Black in this sort of system. So we want to acknowledge that. We want to give them a place to rest, to fellowship, but also to strategize and plan and work on policy, and have an entity that could be a voice even back to the minister, to the ministry and the minister, and to the leadership in child welfare. So,
and it's a great format and framework that could be used internationally. This is not just an issue here.
Yeah, I heard a leader in the ministry say recently that indeed we need a one vision, one voice style, you know, experience for education, for criminal justice, for health.
So many different.
Yeah. And which was a huge honor for him to say that. And I give it back to the community for the vision, for staying the course, and not growing weary, but staying with it. And I think give it a little bit of time, we're going to see we're going to reap the benefits for sure.
Oh, this is so exciting! I'm so happy. That went by. See, we're done.
No way.
Yeah, we're done. You see?
Well, it was a pleasure.
It's like, honestly, it was a pleasure for us to have you.
For sure.
You know what we'll do? I'm going to probably in the comments, I'm going to put up the 11 race equity practices just so that people can get an idea. I'm also going to actually, in the bottom on the YouTube page, there's a link to the website.
That's awesome.
So they'll be able to get some information there as well. I'm going to say thank you. I know Dave will say his own thank you, but thank you very much for coming in. I'm glad that I re-met you.
Yes.
That's awesome. So now when I see you in the future, it's like, what up, girl?
Absolutely.
I'm one who bothered you on live television. Mr. Dave?
Yeah, thank you once again for your efforts. Definitely. I think our community doesn't understand the role and the work that a project such as this does take, right? And as well as the fact that they've held the power for so long, right? And they were able to go ahead and call the shots for so long. Now, with something like this in place, definitely gives us a voice. So we thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. We will see you. Actually, next week's going to be a little treat. You won't see us next week, but tune in. We have a special guest for you, 2 of them. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Peace and love, family.